Hollywood decided that they needed to hold a telethon, not for the kids with muscular dystrophy, not for the victims of Ukraine, but this time it was for the drag queens. It was for drag queens. Hollywood held a Drag Isn't Dangerous telethon, and they raised over $500,000 to save the drag queens. No, it's not going to our military, right? Like, this is great. You could help kids with autism. We could go down the list. No, this is for the drag queens. And among those who spoke out about this was actress Charlize Theron, who obviously I don't know, but I feel like I have some weird connection to this person because she played me in a movie. And I was aware that she had one child who she says is trans. She says the child's been trans since age 3, and they transitioned him from male to female, quote unquote. They transitioned him. And listen to Charlize Theron speaking out about this. Satsa.
We love you, Queen.
We love you, Queen.
We're in your corner, and we've got you, and I will fuck anybody up who's like trying to fuck with anything with you guys. It's really, in all seriousness, there's so many things that are hurting and really killing our kids, and we all know what I'm talking about right now. And it ain't no drag queen, because if you've ever seen a drag queen lip sync for her life,
yep,
it only makes you happier. It only makes you love more. It makes you a better person.
Okay. So why doesn't Charlize Theron come and fuck me up? Because I'm 100% against her on this. Yes, there's fun drag queen shows. I've been to them. When I lived in Chicago, we went to one that was super fun. It was all adults. But there are drag queen shows out there right now that are deeply disturbing, and they're happening in front of young children. So know what you're supporting. Understand what we're actually seeing out there, which can include absolutely the grooming of young children. Even she should be against that, trans kid or not. Sara, you've done great reporting on this. You actually, was it last year or the year before, but you got some dark video of one such incident. We've got a bit of it. I'm going to show it, and then you can explain what it is we're seeing. All right, so I'll explain to the audience. It's a drag queen person, and you tell us what this person is doing, Sara.
Yes, he is throwing his dress, his skirt up to reveal a cat on his underwear. I'm sure you can make the connotation there. And the important point to note is that you see the young child behind him. He's actually dancing to a song that includes the P word over and over and over again, talking about how good it is, talking about how sweet it is, talking about how people want to F this person's P. And they are doing it all, of course, in front of this young child. And that honestly was the most grotesque song choice that they used during that event, but it wasn't the raunchiest behavior that I saw that day. So this was October of last year. And I have an organization called Defend Our Kids Texas. And you would think in Texas, we wouldn't have to form an organization dedicated to stopping the sexualization of children of all states, Texas, but we had to. And so I went in to this brunch. It did say on the original form, all ages are welcome. It did say, we get a little raunchy, so be advised, but all ages are welcome. And so I went in and I said, I know I'm going to see at least one child here. And of course, there she was. They were handing out vibrators as part of their gifts. They were, there was one of the drag queens who was wearing a incredibly revealing outfit, very sheer. You could see the bottom of her breasts, just barely covering her nipples. And this is what is happening I really feel like I have to emphasize this, Megyn. I grew up in this area. This is Plano, Texas. This is like suburbia, right? This is what you would think to be a very red, very conservative, very reasonable when it comes to children area. And yet I went there and I saw this young child being exploited and being sexually abused. And this is what I try to tell people. This is not a parental rights issue. This is a child abuse issue. This is the sexual exploitation and abuse of children. You are infecting their young mind that is not ready to process such images, such language, and you're infiltrating their minds with this, of course it's going to affect them mentally. And so we're fighting it here in Texas, but it's just disgusting how they've turned this drag queen thing into such a cultish behavior. Drag queens are not under attack. All we're doing is simply asking them, please stop doing this in front of children. You would think that it wouldn't be controversial. It wasn't controversial 5 minutes ago to say, stop sexualizing our children.
You're so right. I agree with every word you just said. And I've said this, like, remember when Carrie Lake was running in Arizona and they tried to make a thing out of the fact that she, as an adult, had seen a drag queen. Meanwhile, she was objecting to drag queens in schools. It's not the same thing. They conflate it because apparently allowing drag queens to perform in front of little children is really important to them. Yeah. Otherwise, why would they conflate these two issues rather than just ceding the one and defending the right of adults to perform as they want in front of other willing adults? It can be a fun thing. Bachelorette parties, go out and see a drag queen show. It's with a cocktail in a bar where it's only people above 21, fine, whatever. There may be some people who care, but no one's really targeting that. They're targeting the exploit. And you know what happens? And I know the word groomer does get overused. What happens is if you introduce sexual behavior and like sexual references, just sexualization in front of children too young, it gets them used to it. It inures the child into that behavior. And then I'm not saying drag queens are pedophiles, but you don't know who's in that child's life. You don't know whether that kid is exposed at the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or on a school trip or, God forbid, in a church to somebody who will exploit that familiarity with that kind of talk and that kind of behavior. And the child's defenses are now down because you've put them down. So it is a problem, Charlize. Believe me. What do you make of it, Liz?
Well, I really think I look at states like Florida revoking the liquor licenses of bars that host drag shows. And I think, one of the big problems there is for adults like me, where sometimes my friends will drag me to one of these things. When the liquor license is revoked, that means I'm not able to drink to get through it. So that's a big problem. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense to attempt, they're attempting to punish the business. I understand what they're doing. As a libertarian, I really, really reject that. I don't think that is the role of the state to be doing that type of thing. But the thing I actually really take issue with is the fact that we've made drag, for whatever reason, culturally and politically, such a thing. This used to be relegated to this very niche area. It was this subculture. It was kitsch and it was caricature and it was focused specifically, it wasn't really designed for bachelorette parties or for me or for you. This was really something that was fairly fringe, but for whatever reason, so much of the left has made it so that you have to be 100% completely affirming and completely in favor of, and perhaps even, wanting to personally attend drag shows. And then so much of the right, I think, sometimes draws a decent distinction between, hey, this is permissible activity for adults to engage in, but, certainly not children. But there's also, a certain fixation that I see from some conservative commentators on this. And it drives me crazy that we're at this point culturally where we've picked this really absurd kind of lame thing and blown it up to be this thing that we all have to get on board with, or we all have to fully reject. And look, I'm a parent. I absolutely do not want my kid to be in any sort of environment where they're exposed to this type of sexual material. I do think it is important, though, that we separate out and differentiate drag shows with, a high degree of eroticism and sensuality present and with legitimately inappropriate themes versus others that are authentically tame. Though I am very confused by, it's almost like parents who take their children to these types of events, even the really, really tame ones, are doing so perhaps not because the child is asking to go, but almost out of a desire to show that they are capital C correct in their beliefs. And the thing that I always go back to is something I heard a comedian say once, which is that, when the audience is clapping at your jokes instead of laughing, that's a problem.
Sure, you can go to Brazil or Colombia or Korea and get work done to your face, but why would you do that? You don't have to leave your house to look good. It's the final week of the Genucel Mother's Day sale. Look years younger right before your very eyes. Here's a real review from Genucel.com. Claire writes, I absolutely love Genucel. My skin feels so good, tighter, younger, with a more even tone, and I only used it for a week. My advice for everyone, take a before picture. Nothing works like Genucel because it's a family recipe for over 20 years, made by a compounding pharmacist in small batches. Always safe, cruelty-free, and natural. Right now, go to Genucel.com/MK60 and save over 70% off Genucel's most popular package, all their best stuff, during their Mother's Day sale. Every most popular package features their Ultra Retinol and Dark Spot Corrector. Don't wait. Go to Genucel.com/MK60, GENUCEL.com/MK60, and get a complimentary Spa Essentials box with every package order for only 1 more week. Plus, free upgrade to priority shipping. Genucel.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.